Welcome to Big Monday, presented by Joseph A. Bank. It's a MEAC Monday from Norfolk, Virginia, with the Hornets of Delaware State taking on the Spartans of Norfolk State. And welcome, everybody. Doug Sherman along with Corey Alexander. So glad you could join us here tonight. We get a chance to see a young man by the name of Diesel. Everybody calls him Diesel but his mom. He goes by Stephen Whitley, and he's a guy who really makes this home team go tonight.
He does, and he's actually averaging 15.4 points per game over his last 5 games, leads the MEAC in steals, and gets it done on both ends of the floor. But, of course, you can always go a long way with the Diesel, right?
Exactly. So the Diesel will be driving the ship for one side. On the other side, head coach Keith Walker for Delaware State has dealt with more than his share of injuries this year.
And he lost Kobe Gantz, their leading scorer, rebounder, and steals guy after only 3 games this season. Jonathan Mitchell out as well, but there's a chance that Mitchell will get back before the end of the season. Coach trying to just keep things together until he can get some of his key pieces back.
Well, they will be getting Kevon Waller back tonight, senior from Chester, Virginia. So he's getting the troops back and healthy for the most part. The hope is that he's got them back and ready in time for the MEAC tournament here in Norfolk in a few weeks.
And that's exactly what each of these coaches are talking about when you talk MEAC tournament. At the end of the day, the regular season does matter, but what matters most is the tournament and seeing if they can win 3 games.
And there's Robert Jones in his 5th year as head coach here at Norfolk State. This is his 11th year at the university. A native of Queens, New York, who told me earlier today, I have no Southern drawl. Yes, I've been here 11 years, but I am a New Yorker.
He has it. He just doesn't know it.
And there is the Diesel right to the bucket.
And did he get the name Diesel because of his build? Because you can see the young man is definitely strong in the upper body.
Yes, he got it in childhood when he was not nearly as well defined. I think the word he uses is either chubby or chunky. That's where he got the Diesel, but he has worked on his body and certainly looks like a Mack truck with a basketball.
A good start for Joseph Lewis, knocking down the 3 for the senior. And that's one of the areas where Coach Walker's had to deal with so many different starters, so many different starting lineups with this group, so really hasn't had much cohesion to this point. He's just looking for something to spark these guys and see if they can find a way to get their first MEAC win.
Norfolk State, as every college basketball team has had to deal with injuries, they are hoping to have Mustadi Pitt back tonight for the first time in a couple of weeks. He's been dealing with a thigh injury and will come off the bench for Coach Jones maybe for 6 or 8 minutes this evening. That could help the backcourt. And here is Pinky Wiley, the point guard for the Hornets, freshman from Chesterfield, Virginia, just outside of Richmond. Shot clock at 2. Pinky's got to let it fly. Wide open look, Kyle Williams. You know what? The Spartans have a couple of really good spot-up 3 shooters.
And when you have a point guard that can put so much pressure on the defense, getting into the paint, and does a great job finding his teammates along the outside. And Kyle Williams, we see he's not bashful from beyond that arc. Already 2 3-point field goal attempts and 1 going down.
Artem Kabalava, senior from Moscow, Russia, puts Delaware State back in front.
And he's a big-time shooter. I've actually seen him on a number of occasions, and he makes tough shots. A very good 3-point shooter, but also does a lot in the mid-range with the fadeaway. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to get on track here against Norfolk State tonight.
Ball knocked out of bounds. Norfolk State will keep it with 9 on the shot clock. And Delaware State defensively seems to have identified the fact that Kyle Williams and Derek Jamerson Jr. are the 2 best 3-point shooters on this team that is on pace to set the all-time program record for 3-point accuracy in a season.
But when you're playing in the zone, as Delaware State is in this game, you have to always identify where those guys are and making sure even as the ball touches the paint, you don't step away from those shooters, because most teams now are looking to get it into the paint only to kick it out for a 3.
Alex Long missed his first shot attempt. He's the most productive big for the Spartans, averaging 11 points and 6 rebounds a game. Jonathan Walker bottled up and fouled. That's a blocking foul against Brian Gelino, 6'11" redshirt senior from Amityville, New York. Now there's a real New York flavor to this Norfolk State team. We mentioned Robert Jones is from Queens. Gelino is from Long Island. And then Kyle Williams, number 24, who's taken a couple of three-point shots. He's from the Bronx.
And that's crazy because you got a lot of Virginia flavor for Delaware State. So that's a little bit backwards, but right now it's the young man from Russia who's getting off to a very good start for Delaware State. You know, you mentioned early in the game that Diesel wasn't a natural point guard, and you see one of the areas Pinky Wiley trying to get underneath him early and not allow him to be comfortable in the full court and make him have to make plays off the bounce. They don't want to allow him to be able to have great court vision at the top of the key. So Delaware State will probably try to put a little more pressure on Diesel in the full court.
Long the turnaround, left it short. And here comes Pinky Wiley. Pinky against Diesel. And you know what, Corey? You've known Pinky for a long while, right?
I have. Pinky actually played at L.C. Byrd High School with my very good friend Troy Mans. He actually was teammates as Lewis has knocked down his second three-pointer, but Pinky actually high school teammates with Kenny Williams, who's having a phenomenal year at North Carolina right now. But those two guys making a formidable backcourt combination along with Mario Haskett at Harvard and a number of other guys that helped Troy get to the state championship 3 years ago.
Jonathan Walker the steal, and he lost it out of bounds. He was the last to touch off his leg.
And Jonathan Walker very aggressive on the break, but Lewis accurate from outside, 2 for 2 already for the senior big man from Delaware State. And this is an area where Delaware State has gotten off to a great start against a number of the very good teams in the MEAC. Actually jumped out to a 24-7 lead over North Carolina Central 2 Saturdays ago, unable to maintain that lead, but they have shown stretches of where they can be very successful in MEAC play.
And you know what? Joseph Lewis had made only 3 three-pointers all season. He's already got 2 made in the early going here tonight.
Well, you know what that means. He likes the cameras in front of him, and right now he's getting it done as the Hornets hold an 11-5 lead.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Joseph A. Bank, the new tradition since 1905. And in part by Extra Gum. Give extra, get extra. And Infinity, empower the drive.
That is Xavier McDaniel, the former All-American at Wichita State University, here in Norfolk, Virginia, because his wife, Maura Gill, is an assistant coach for the Norfolk State women's basketball team. And this is the first time in about an hour Xavier has not had little 5-month-old Dax sleeping on his chest.
Every time I see the X-Man, all I hear is him talking to himself saying, "Get tough, X, get tough." Watching him on the NBA documentaries, one of the original tough guys in the NBA. Of course, just remember him in all those battles when he was a New York Knick going up against Michael Jordan and the Bulls. In a much more physical era of NBA basketball.
There's no doubt about that. And again, the X-Man was such a prolific player in college. He was the first ever to lead the country in both scoring and rebounding back in 1985, and then a first-round pick and a long NBA career. So they've got 2 sons named Max and Dax. Somewhere down the road, we might see one or both playing college or pro ball somewhere. Delaware State with the basketball in the early 6-point lead. This is Jonathan Walker, senior from Georgia. And the long rebound. Controlled by the Hornets. And with all the injuries, here's Tava Kayam. He's already got 6 points, now 8. He is their primary offensive option as the roster is currently constituted.
And you see he's more than a three-point shooter. He's capable of scoring in the mid-range area, but puts a lot of pressure on the opposing defenses because he stays constantly in motion, never standing still, allowing defenses to key on where he is on the court.
Inside they go to Gelino. Against the double team, he's trapped pretty good, knocked out of bounds. And it'll stay here with 7 to shoot. Well, Norfolk State has itself a 6-4 record in conference play. Although they got blown out the last time they played Saturday at arch rival Hampton. They lost by 30 And Coach Jones was saying earlier today to us, he hopes, obviously, that's just a blip on the radar screen. For the most part, all of their games have been close this season.
But you and I saw last week Buck Joyner and the Hampton Pirates go into North Carolina Central and get a win against a very good Central team. So 3 games, 3 straight wins, also going to Hampton and getting a win on the road for the Pirates. And Hampton playing very good basketball right now, and this is the time that you want to be playing well, especially for Coach Joyner, who's been to the NCAA tournament 2 out of the last 3 years with the Hampton Pirates.
Although I tell you what, when you talk to folks around the MEAC, Corey, it does truly seem like, and a lot of times this is coach speak every year, truly this year, the way the MEAC is, it seems like the conference tournament could be won by any of 6 or 7 different teams.
I believe that's the case. And, you know, and when you look at these teams, Delaware State, regardless of record, Coach Walker talked to us about the fact that he just wants to get his team healthy and see if they can put a run together once they get to the MEAC tournament. So, and that's the way I believe that the MEAC has to be coached. You know, of course, you want to have a great regular season, but what matters most to these guys is having a chance to be able to play in the big dance, and that just takes you 3 wins once you get to the tournament.
And there is the Diesel, averaging 5.5 rebounds a game from the point guard spot, ripping another one away. Jamerson, no. And the rebound comes to Walker.
And good ball movement there by Norfolk State, just unable to finish. But you see the Diesel getting into the paint and finding his teammates. One of the reasons why he's top 10 in assists in the MEAC.
And he leads the MEAC in steals per game. He is a hard-working player. On the closeout here with Pinky, but Pinky Wiley shoots it over top of him, and that draws a timeout from Spartans head coach Rob Jones. We'll step away. The visitors from Delaware State up by double figures. If you love basketball, you will love the Valentine's edition of the Crossover Wednesday night on ESPN and ESPN2. Just like last season, our college announcers jump to the NBA, and the NBA guys go back to college. So you've got Hubie Brown and Jay Billis with Virginia Tech Duke, Mark Jackson and Dickie V do Clippers Celtics, PJ Carlissimo and Dan Dockage get Kentucky Auburn, and then on the Warriors Blazers game, will Doris Burke get a word in edgewise working with Bill Walton?
She has to, because Doris Burke may know more basketball than anyone in the country, anyone doing TV. And so she has to get some words in. But I can tell you right now, it's not going to be a lot of basketball talk with Bill Walton on the air. I want to see if Bill can actually get Doris off track and get her to start talking about the force and everything else that Walton talks about in Walton's world during the game.
Yeah, Nick Thomas with the 3. I'll tell you what, I have stayed up way too many nights well past my bedtime in the Eastern time zone the last 3.5, 4 months, just smiling, listening to Bill Walton. And
I would call mine absolute laughing. I'm not even going to say smiling. I am laughing out loud at the stuff that he says on air.
And I marvel at Dave Pash and Roxy Bernstein, his 2 usual play-by-play guys. How on earth do you figure that out? Williams was fouled by Wiley, and he'll have a chance for 3.
And Kyle Williams showing that he's much more than a 3-point shooter, getting out with the steal and getting out in transition. Great body control to be able to finish at the rim, but you see the defensive effort from the Spartans turning into points on the other end of the floor. Williams now with an opportunity for the 3-point play.
Williams, much like many people in college basketball, with a peripatetic path to get here. As mentioned, he's a 5th-year senior from the Bronx who started at Division III Hartwick College in upstate New York, then transferred to St. Bonaventure and was just a regular student. He didn't try to play basketball for the Bonnies. Then after a year at Bonaventure, he transferred to Niagara Community College, also in western New York, before then transferring down here to Norfolk State, where he has put together a pretty solid season, nearly 10 points per game.
So you would say he took the scenic route.
He did.
Okay.
He did.
Fair enough. Well, ended up in a great spot. And speaking of great spots, this arena, what they've done here at the Eccles Center, or Eccles Hall, is tremendous. I was here many, many years ago. I'm not going to date myself by saying how long ago it was, but the renovation that they've been able to do in this arena is tremendous. I pretty much didn't recognize this place coming in, talking to assistant coach C.J. Clemens for Norfolk State on the court earlier today, and he was just telling me about how, you know, when they have recruits come in, you can look at this place and see that there's a commitment to basketball here at Norfolk State, and you see it all throughout the facilities.
No question. It was originally built in the early 80s, and like the Jumbotron over our heads here. Nice turnaround off the bench. Preston Bungay with his first 2. Jumbotron just added a couple of years ago, so the money keeps coming in, and they keep pouring it back into the facilities for this program. Kevon Waller feeds the post, and Amir Bennett will head to the free throw line when we come back.
When you attack the zone, you've got to have a guy in the middle of the zone that can make a play. Norfolk State calling on Bungay. Bungay answering the bell as the Spartans finding a way back in.
One team, one shot, one dance. The 2018 MEAC Basketball Tournament is back at Scope Arena in Norfolk, Virginia. It's 6 days of non-stop action as your favorite MEAC men's and women's basketball teams battle it out on the court for the right to play in the big dance. Get your tickets today at MEACHoops.com. Member institutions and Ticketmaster. March 5th through 10th at Scope Arena as the road to the big dance goes through Norfolk.
Actually, this is good because I've been meaning to talk to you. Well, you know, you're getting older, and you might be experiencing some sensations. Happened to your dad. Oh,
look, the tow truck's here.
Can't wait to be rescued? Esurance Roadside Assistance lets you know when help will arrive. That's insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call.
You have any questions?
I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome.
What kind of SUV is that? It's a new Buick Enclave. Fits up to 7 people. Or poodles. He's actually a Bernedoodle.
We're home. Let's go.
That really makes it easy to unload all those little maniacs.
Sure does.
Hey, honey, we should get one of those and have like a ton more kids.
Love that. More kids.
Wendy, is that a new SUV?
A new Buick Enclave.
Looks like everybody likes her new Enclave.
Introducing the all-new Buick Enclave. Tomorrow's SUV for today's family.
Doug Sherman, Corey Alexander back in Norfolk, Virginia. 16-13. Delaware State's once 11-point lead has been trimmed thanks to a run by Norfolk State. One thing I've learned, Corey, in the MEAC, best music
I was about to say, you know,
in the country.
You just serenaded us with your Saturday love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, you got to do it on air. You can't just save it for commercial breaks. I mean, you're going to do Saturday love, you got to do it on air. I'm just saying.
Sugar.
We get an opportunity to see Delaware State. Artem and Lewis, both these guys combined for 13 points, but only one three-pointer from Pinky Wiley for anyone else on the team scoring. And now Norfolk State on a 8-0 run to make this a three-point game as the Spartans starting to settle in here on their own home court and find a way back into this game.
Has Pinky Wiley always been a point guard?
Yes.
Ball in his hands?
Yes, always been a guy that's played with the basketball in his hands. Very good defender and a much improved shooter. You see him actually shooting the three now. That wasn't necessarily part of his game when he was younger. Has improved significantly. And Coach Walker talking to us about the fact that he's truly the only point guard that he has on his roster right now. So it's nothing strange to see Pinky Wiley go out and have to play 40 minutes in the game because Coach Walker just really doesn't have anyone else that he trusts with the basketball right now other than his freshman.
Well, Corey, the reason I ask, and you, of course, were a point guard at Virginia and in the NBA for a number of years. Triple knocked down by Nick Thomas, his second three-point shot. Do you think that somebody like Stephen Whitley, Diesel, can go from having really never played with the basketball in his hands to this year being an effective point guard? You know, put it another way, are point guards born or can they be learned?
I believe there are some point guard skills that can be learned, but the majority of it is innate. And a guy like Pinky Wiley, it was innate. The Diesel is able to get away with it because I think he's a tremendous athlete, but yet you will see plays where he's not necessarily having to make point guard plays. He's just using his aggressiveness to be successful. We see that all the time with Russell Westbrook, who was not an innate point guard, but yet plays the position very well. Is always a league leader in assists, but he uses his aggressiveness attacking the rim and drawing defenses to him to make other players open.
Delaware State trying to snap an 11-0 Norfolk State run, but it won't work that way. It's a turnover against the Hornets and an offensive foul called against Amir Bennett.
And you see Norfolk State continuing to move the basketball. Nick Thomas in the corner. finding the three. And just like that, it's a tie basketball game. Norfolk State's ability to shoot the three continues to keep them in games, and right now on pace to be able to break a school record for three-point field goal percentage. Delaware State's last field goal at 15-10 in this game, so they've gone a 5-minute stretch without a field goal. Give Norfolk State's defense credit.
And the big hammer by Stavian Allen.
But you see who creates that play. That's the Diesel Wiley getting in there. I'm sorry, Whitley getting into the paint. And again, that's a shot that he could have taken, but he draws the defense to him and makes it easy for one of his teammates to be able to get a bucket. And of course, another assist for the Diesel.
Yeah, Pinky Wiley, Diesel Whitley.
Yeah, that's
easy to mix those.
That's going to throw me off.
We should just stick with Diesel and Pinky.
I'm going to go Diesel and Pinky. I like that. Again, I'm waiting on you to sing Saturday Night Love again. That's what I want to hear.
Jamerson up off the window for two more, and the Spartans keep rolling.
And now you see where the struggles have been for Delaware State. Coach Walker talked to us pregame about the fact that getting a lead wasn't a problem for them. Sustaining leads long enough to be able to get wins are where the problems come in. And right now, Coach Walker wanting to take the 30-second timeout to talk it over with his team.
Coach Walker's team, in spite of the cold spell here, is still 4 out of 5 on three-pointers so far tonight. But defensively, they've allowed Allen and company to get right back in it.
Well, and they've been able to get out in transition as well. And of course, whenever you're getting transition baskets, that helps you beat the zone back down the floor. So Norfolk State has found their rhythm offensively and also picked it up on the defensive end of the floor.
Well, the last time out for Delaware State, Monday in Greensboro at North Carolina A&T, they lost the game 54-51 despite season highs from Joe Lewis. They had multiple chances, 3 different shots, including 2 layups in the final 30 seconds that would have put them ahead and potentially won that game, and that's kind of been the story of the year so far.
It really has. And that's the frustrating thing for Coach Walker, to be able to go out there. And he tells us that his team, of course, is giving him everything that they can, all the effort you can ask. They're playing, you know, of course, each and every game there's someone different injured. They're not having a full complement of players on the court and available. And even when you look at their bench, there's only 4 players dressed on the bench that are capable of being able to go into the game. They went from 12 scholarship players to 6 scholarship players immediately due to injury and departures. So again, Coach Walker dealing with a bit of a mash unit at times going out on the court.
Yeah, and he describes it, those players you just saw on the bench there are a quote from the student body, which means they're walk-ons that they pressed into service when their scholarship roster dwindled through injury.
And where that hurts you most is practice time. Because when you don't even have 10 capable bodies to be able to go out and practice and run a scout team, etc., it's extremely difficult to be successful in games.
Jonathan Walker, the senior from Lithia Springs, Georgia.
First basket for Delaware State in over 7 minutes. Walker's able to get into the paint. Find a, I won't call it an easy bucket because it's a lot of individual effort having to be done for Walker to be able to knock that one down, but he's a very capable scorer. I love his aggressiveness. I've seen him a number of times play, and he stays aggressive for the entire time he's on the court.
Young man who began his college career at Morehouse University in Atlanta before transferring to Delaware State with his first 2 points. Well, the man at the free throw line, Preston Boongay, the grandson of a former Kansas Jayhawk. His grandpa's name is Phil Harmon, played back in the mid-late 60s. Good player for the Jayhawks. Boongay with the free throw makes it 22-18 Norfolk State.
And Norfolk State now, because they've been able to score a couple baskets, able to put on a little bit of full court pressure. And right now is somewhat of a token pressure. They're not going after the traps yet, but you can tell that Coach Jones is pretty much setting Delaware State up. At some point, that trap is going to come in the backcourt.
Waller still looking for his first point since coming back from the foot injury. Waller just practiced yesterday for the first time. Looked good and walked through this morning, so he's a go for Delaware State. How about the elevation by Derek Jamerson, again showing he's more than just a spot-up three-point shooter.
Yeah, that's a big-time rebound there by Jamerson going in there, and Jamerson was actually the one that came up with the steal and pushing it in transition. But a huge offensive rebound and follow-up to give him 2 more points and extend the lead to 6 for the Spartans.
Little two-man game. Lewis, he's been feeling it, coming off a real good game last Monday. And he had a couple of made threes here early tonight. There's Jamerson again.
And again, it's the great ball movement, but give Bungay credit. I mean, you're talking about the guy who right now is probably playing the 5 position, but getting the rebound and being able to push it full court and make the right play to allow the ball movement to get Jamerson open in the corner for the 3.
Derek Jamerson, young man from Detroit, known for his three-point shooting, but he can get up above the rim as well. Well, it's time to check out our assist of the game presented by State Farm, and for that we go back to the Diesel.
Well, you got to go to the Diesel, but he finds Allen, who finishes with authority. Beautiful execution by Norfolk State, getting Diesel into the paint and making the right play to get the easy one for his teammate.
Corey, it is a 22-2 run for the Spartans, who were down 11 early. Do the Hornets have the ability to really counterpunch?
Well, and this has been, you know, really the MO for the Hornets all year long, is getting off to great starts, but just unable to sustain leads. And a lot of it has to do with the lack of depth. Right now, a 12-0 advantage off from bench points for Norfolk State. So Delaware State relying only on their starters, and when they have to substitute, they're not getting much production coming off the bench. But, of course, a lot of that has to do with the fact that their depth is low because they have so many guys injured and unable to play in this game.
Yeah, Salik Edwards is coming to the game. There is Kevon Waller, who might wind up being part of the answer, from Chester, Virginia, out of Thomasdale High School. He was preseason third-team all-conference. They need something out of him.
And Coach Walker was very happy to have Waller back in the lineup. Missed time due to a foot injury, but a very capable three-point shooter. And you saw his stroke a little bit there in that last possession. Oh.
A missed dunk at one end turns into a one-handed slam at the other for Tavakayam. 10 points for the senior out of Florida Air Academy.
And he's another one of those guys, and you know my MO. When you shoot the ball as well as he does, you got to find more shots for Tavakayam. And he's a knockdown shooter, but can make plays in the mid-range. And we see him get on the break, showing off a little bit of his athleticism as Kyle Williams continues to show off his three-point stroke.
I'll tell you what, was he as shot ready as anybody could ever be right there?
Well, I think he's always shot ready. I mean, you know, this is my first time seeing Kyle Williams play, but one thing I recognize is he knows when he's got his opportunities, and he takes advantage of them.
Man, he had his feet set and was stepping into the shot as the pass came to him, and there he is again, set up for a picture-perfect J.
And when you shoot the ball that well, you should stay shot ready. I believe that's the 4th three already in this first half for Kyle Williams.
You see both teams shooting well from distance. Just over 5 minutes remaining in the first half. Lewis puts it up and in.
That's a nice move by Lewis on the interior. He starts to show off his repertoire, but they got to get back on defense. One thing you don't want is 24 and White finding another three opportunity.
Edwards coast to coast, got it to go, but the basket is waved off. No good. Offensive foul. So a big missed opportunity for the Hornets.
And give Nick Thomas credit for sprinting back defensively after a quick shot by Williams and getting himself into position to be able to take the charge. Thomas does a great job getting set, feet outside of the restricted area. Great hustle.
Norfolk State was picked to finish second in the preseason poll in the MEAC, behind Morgan State. Right now they're in the middle of the pack at 6-4 overall, coming off a tough loss their last time out. Long hits the turnaround.
And having someone in the middle of that zone that can make shots is always going to be important. And we've seen a number of players from Norfolk State find themselves in that painted area and stay aggressive when they got their opportunities, not looking to pass the basketball, but forcing Delaware State's zone to honor the middle of that paint, knocking down jump shots.
Pinky passes through the double team. Lewis misses, fires. Jeleno back into the game at the 5 position for Norfolk State. Long blocked once, blocked again, out of bounds, and Norfolk State will keep it. The Spartans with a double-figure lead over the Hornets late in the first half here in Norfolk, Virginia.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800 State Farm. And the new DQ Honey Hot Glazed Chicken Strip Basket. Get it today, only at your DQ.
It's been 6 years since a wild and magical week for Norfolk State basketball. The MEAC Championship in Winston-Salem. Norfolk State led Bethune-Cookman by 3. The final shot didn't go, and that sent the Spartans to their first ever NCAA tournament, where they went to Omaha as a 15 seed, matched with number 2 seed Mizzou, and what do you know, the 15 seed came out with the win. Of course, Kyle O'Quinn was the signature player for that team, 26 points in that victory, and indeed they were dancing. From 2012 to 2018, Rob Jones was an assistant on that team. He is the head coach, of course, now, and has been with his program for 11 years. And you look at that list of 15 over 2, and the folks here in Norfolk can be very proud of their place in basketball history.
Absolutely, and I'm proud of you for not crying when you saw that first one, the Richmond over Syracuse.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let's get back to the basketball game. So if UVA was on there, you would have gone right to it and said, "That's my alma mater."
No, not if they were on the numbers. Not if they were the number 2 side that got beat by 15.
Right.
I wouldn't.
You'd have glided right past it. No reason to talk about that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, somebody had to be first. Somebody had to be first. Was that during your time? You weren't at Syracuse. Were you at Syracuse?
No, I was gone by then.
You were gone by then?
Yeah. No, when I was there, we were losing the national championship game to Keith Smart in the Hoosiers.
87.
My junior year. I'll tell you what, I met Keith Smart 4 or 5 years after that and had a conversation with him that I imagine every Syracuse person has ever had with him. Like, man, you ruined the best week of my life. I wanted to hate Keith Smart. Nicest guy on the planet.
Such a great guy. You can't. Yeah, it's hard to hate Keith Smart. Great guy.
Oh, I hated him even more for being so nice. Should have said, "You jerk, get away from me."
Another turnover. And, of course, when you get out of transition, you want to look for Kyle Williams on the break. And that's the reason why. And that's also the reason why Norfolk State on pace to break their single-season record for three-point field goal percentage, because 24 in White is money when he gets his opportunities.
Well, he's at 39% on the year, 6th best in the MEAC. I'm figuring out, how does he miss 61% of the time?
I can tell you what, it doesn't. I mean, it looks great every time it leaves his hands right now. It's been pure. And give the Diesel credit, recognizing where the shooter is on the break. 6 assists already for Diesel in the first half, as he's able to get out in transition and does a great job keeping his head up. And, you know, we talked a lot about point guard play. He may not have been an innate point guard, but he's doing a very good job of finding his teammates. And now, of course, with the substitution, he actually goes off the basketball and probably try to give him some opportunities to score.
Yeah, Mustadi Pitt, 6'1" freshman from Hampton, Virginia, into the game and allow the Diesel to work off the ball. You know, Stephen Whitley grew up right here in Norfolk, and as a matter of fact, he went to high school just basically across the street at Booker T. Washington. And he never really wanted to play here at Norfolk State at his hometown school until he went away. And he went to Robert Morris after having gone to prep school, went to Fork Union, and realized, you know what, I do now want to go home. And it's worked out real well. He's got the support of his mom and dad here at every game, and they financially supported him through Fork Union to make sure he could get himself into a Division I situation. It's a great story.
And he's found a home here with the Spartans. You say Booker T. It's only, well, I won't say one name, it's 2 names that you know in the 757. Mike. Just remember that. Mike Evans. Okay. One of the best to ever lace him up in this area. Now, unfortunately, that's saying a lot. I'm not going to say he's better than Allen Iverson, but had the same level of impact and as a high school player as Allen Iverson had here in the 757.
Because that's where I was going to ask you about AI.
Remember, AI did not play his senior year. And Mike senior year may be one of the best that the state of Virginia has ever seen.
Shot clock at 2, and a foul is called against the Diesel.
And that's just the defensive energy and effort. Being a bit over-aggressive, but stepping out and recognizing that the shot clock is going down, trying to force a turnover there. Just a little over-aggressive, bailing out Delaware State at a time where they definitely were not going to get off a quality shot at the end of the shot clock.
As you see there, non-shooting foul. Both teams with only 5 fouls apiece. Miles Carter high off the window, comes out. Couple of opportunities at the rim for Delaware State. They come away with nothing. Whitmer, quick first step. Better recovery by Lewis to block the shot out of bounds. Spartans will keep.
See Mustadi Pitt returning from injury, but Pitt still looking a little ginger. Favoring that right leg a little bit. Not sure if he's ready to go in this one. Coach Jones may have to take a look at whether or not Pitt can help him in this game. And, of course, with an 18-point lead, I'm not sure that this is the time to keep him out there on the court.
Well, we watched him carefully during shoot-around this morning, and he looked fine, but shoot-around's a whole different thing than getting out there in the game. Nice pass there from him, though. Long muscles his way up, and he'll shoot a pair of free throws. And so Alex Long out of Clinton, Maryland, former high school teammate of Chinanu Onuaku, went on to Louisville, has had some time in the NBA with the Rockets.
Now, as you talk about that, what would he be doing right now as a teammate of Onuaku?
Sitting on the bench watching Onuaku play.
Onuaku shoots underhand.
2 games headline Super Tuesday presented by Boost Mobile, 7 Eastern in the Big 12. Trae Young and the number 23 Oklahoma Sooners at number 7 Texas Tech. Then at 9 Eastern, it's the ACC where number 1, who is that, Virginia?
Yeah, that'd be the Hoos.
The Hoos.
That'd be the Hoos.
Visit Coral Gables and the Miami Hurricanes, both games, of course, on ESPN and the ESPN app.
It's the first time in 36 years, I believe.
Since Ralph Sampson was a senior in 82-83, I think it was.
Yeah, that would be 82-83. You did not know Onuaku shot underhand from free throw line?
No.
You don't remember his days at Louisville? His sophomore year at Louisville, he basically was that bad at the free throw line. He started shooting Rick Barry style, which we used to refer to as granny style. Yeah,
now that you say it, I do, but absolutely did not remember.
See?
I think more about his older brother at Syracuse, Renzi Onuaku.
Of course you think everything about Syracuse.
And he was a normal, traditional free throw shooter. And by the way, if he hadn't gotten hurt his senior year, Syracuse would have had another Final Four appearance. Oh, by the way.
And Nick Thomas has another three-point bucket made in transition. And we look back, you think that this was actually, I believe, a 13-4 game for Delaware State early. And since then, the Spartans have just taken over. And the ability to sustain leads for Delaware State has been a struggle all season long for Coach Keith Walker. And we've seen that here, rearing its ugly head in the first half at Norfolk State.
Walker, good closeout by Thomas. Shot clock is off, ball out of bounds, and the Hornets will keep. Remember, the Hornets led by as many as 11 points earlier in the half, and the Spartans just sprinted right past them. Walker's pass out of bounds, and the Spartans will get one last shot here in the half. Head coach Robert Jones was trying to on the down low tell Diesel something, but one of the opponents was listening.
Beautiful find.
Now Diesel did his job. Preston Bungay just couldn't finish the play.
And a great look. With 3.1 seconds remaining. Diesel getting out in transition and recognizing Bungay available and open. Bungay unable to knock it down, but that's pretty much the only thing that the Spartans have not been able to do successfully. A 43-9 run over the last 13 minutes and 15 seconds of this game. It's fair enough to say that the Spartans have found their way here at home.
In the
Back in Norfolk, Virginia, 48-25 is our score. Part of Big Monday presented by Joseph A. Bank with Corey Alexander. I'm Doug Sherman, and true to form, Delaware State came out and took a double-figure lead as they've done many times. But Corey, as we've seen many times, they just can't hold on to that lead.
That's it. The depth for Delaware State does not allow them to sustain leads. Of course, they're getting off to a great start. Arden Tavakayan got off to a really good start shooting the basketball, and he's a quality shooter from beyond the arc, but not just a three-point shooter. He's capable of making plays in the mid-range as well, off the dribble. And then, of course, whenever you're able to get out on the break and get an easy one, it's going to help your scoring. But on the other side of the floor, Kyle Williams took over in the first half for Norfolk State. 4 3-pointers for Williams as he continues to find the right spots, and his teammates find him in the right spots. And he has a beautiful stroke, a beautiful follow-through, and 15 points to go along with it here in the first half.
I'm still trying to figure out how Kyle Williams has already missed 61% of his three-point shots this year. With a shot like that, he should never miss. Back with start of the second half. After this, Norfolk State up big.
Come on, Doug!
Norfolk State 48, Delaware State 25 as we get set for the start of the second half. With Corey Alexander, I'm Doug Sherman. Bench points and three-point shooting, the big differences so far in this one.
And when you look at what Norfolk State has been able to do from beyond the arc, 50%, 9 three-pointers in the first half. That's enough to make anyone successful. But when you look 43-9, you can't even call that a run. That's a run right there, my man.
How many U's?
Well, I'm not infinity. Just find a way to put an end on it.
Well, does Delaware State have the ability to get on a run of its own? We have seen them shoot the three ball effectively, and we saw them start the game well.
And one of the things that Coach Walker talked to us about pregame was the importance of Pinky Wiley, and Wiley getting in foul trouble in that first half, picking up his second foul. And it was downhill for Delaware State with the freshman point guard on the bench.
Contested three was an air ball. That's Kevon Waller who put it up. He gets the start here in the second half, and then with 3 on the shot clock, an offensive foul by Jonathan Walker. That's another turnover.
That's an area where Delaware State did not help themselves. Now their 10th turnover on the game. In the first possession of the second half, and you turn it over, that gets you off to the wrong type of start that I'm sure that Coach Walker talked to his team about at halftime.
Kyle Williams, 15 points. Derek Jamerson with 10.
Well, make that 13.
Make it 13.
He heard you. He did not like the number 10.
From the junior out of Cornerstone Health and Technology on the west side of Detroit. The Spartans team has a couple of good wings, and Stephen Whitley, the Diesel, calling his own number there, using the glass. He has been effective getting the ball into the right hand.
He has, and he started off the game scoring, but really went more into facilitating mode after that. But you see the second half, already an assist and a bucket for the Diesel. And, you know, he wears 34. I wonder if that's Shaq Diesel. Shaq was 34 with the Lakers, right?
I'm not a numbers guy, so I don't know what Shaq was. But that's a good call.
Dougie Fresh.
I am not. Other than, wow, number 35 in white with another 3.
And he is a numbers guy because he continues to put numbers on the board. And just like that, 2 shots for him. And he takes over the scoring lead for Norfolk State here in the second half. Now 16 points for Jamerson.
So that's an 8-0 run to start the second half. Long makes it 10 unanswered points. Timeout, Delaware State. Yeah, that's a good call. We're going to have to look up in the next break whether 34 was Shaq Diesel.
I believe that was the Diesel's number in LA.
Just like the end of the first half, second half, all Norfolk State.
I've had 3.
Welcome back to Big Monday, presented by Joseph A. Bank. The Natalie-clad Robert Jones, fifth-year head coach at Norfolk State out of SUNY New Paltz. That's about an hour and a half north of where he grew up in New York City. He was a Division III All-American during his playing days, and he said, he was telling me this morning, growing up in Queens, of course, his dream school to play for was St. John's. He used to go to St. John's games. And now as a coach, that still remains his dream school. He would love someday to be able to work at St. John's University. And who wouldn't want to be there the way the Johnnies are picking off some of the big boys lately?
I was about to say, after an 11-game losing streak, knocking off Duke and then Villanova, I mean, that's about as far of a swing as you can have. Lose 11 straight and then knock off two of the best teams in the country, the most talented team in the country, and then the #1 team in the country. Pretty significant swing there for Chris Mullen and his group.
Did Shamori Pons just get himself drafted?
You know what? He's been a factor. I had opportunity to watch him a lot at USA Basketball over the past couple of years, and of course people have known that he's good, but he definitely has put himself much higher up on many people's radar for what he's done over the past week.
Of course, Shamori Pons, the star for St. John's, one of their 2 stars, but the only healthy star. And did you ever play with or against Chris Mullen?
I played against Mullen.
You caught him at the tail end, probably,
well,
right?
no, actually, I played against, I'm sure you remember Run TMC.
Well, sure.
And so that was, of course, Chris Mullen, Tim Hardaway, and Mitch Richmond. So my rookie year, I actually had a chance to play against that team, and I was on the wrong end of one of those two-steps one time from Tim Hardaway. You know, and to believe it or not, Tim Hardaway once told me in a game, and I said, Tim, don't hit me with that. He said, don't worry, Corey, I'm saving something special for Avery. I'm not even going to use this one on you.
And did he give it to Avery?
He sure did, and I laughed the entire time. Tim Hardaway was special.
And of course, Chris Mullen back at his alma mater at St. John's, and Patrick Ewing also in the Big East back at Georgetown. There's the Diesel. Little step back, too. I always am concerned for people, not that when you're getting paid a big sum to go back to your alma mater, but if I was in that position, I think I'd be very leery to go back to my alma mater because so often it just ends badly.
Well, it often does, but at the same time, that is the dream job for most people, is to be able, especially if you want to coach at your alma mater. And the state that St. John's have been in, you know, I believe it was the right move for Chris Mullen. And, you know, of course, it's been a struggle, honestly, this year. But when you bring signature wins like going on the road and winning at Villanova and then, of course, beating Duke in the Garden, that gives your program some hope. And I believe that's exactly what they've been looking for at St. John's. And maybe they can get some momentum behind Coach Mullen in doing so. He definitely knows the game. It's not a question about knowing the game, but it's much different at the college level than, of course, with the NBA, where he was tremendously successful.
And you know who his lead assistant there is. Mitch Richmond.
That's right. I did know Mitch was there. Run into Mitch over the summertime here close by at the Boo Williams Sportsplex during a lot of the EYBL events. So that's another one. It's just as scary as the UTEP two-step was. There was the Rock. The Rock by the Rock. And right now, Norfolk State is rocking the Hornets by 35.
Exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Infinity, Empower the Drive, and Sam Adams, Fill Your Glass.
That is Alan and C.V. Hodges, the proud parents of the Diesel. Stephen Whitley is so thankful to his parents for the support they've given him over the years, growing up here in the city of Norfolk, just a short drive from where we are here at Norfolk State University. And that young man looking forward to getting his degree in a couple of years. And he says he wants to play professional basketball as well, but he's got himself on track and on a good track.
And he really does, and he's shown a lot of things in this game. Of course, I knew he was capable of getting into the paint and scoring, and also very good at finding his teammates, but showing him show off the lefty touch, the jumper, I wasn't sure he had that. And with his size, he's got a chance to be able to play for some money at some point when his career here at Norfolk State is over.
And good for you, number 34, Shaq Diesel. I wish I was a numbers guy when I was talking to him. Where were you? I needed to have you say something about the Shaq Diesel
I
thing.
was somewhere delayed on an airplane or something. Of course, Stephen Whitley has done it all. He got the game started off attacking the rim, showing off that strong upper body, but then you see that lefty touch off the glass. The step-back jumper, of course, which is so popular to the youngins nowadays, but that's where he has been good. But he's been great in the open floor, finding his teammates, distributing the basketball.
And you know who one of Diesel's close friends is? One of your boys from Oak Hill.
Uh-oh, that might be my man MC, a.k.a. Matty Ice Mac Coleman.
Indeed it is.
Of Texas fame right now.
Another three for Derek Jamerson and a couple of your Oak Hill boys, including one I saw a couple of days ago out of Ames, Iowa, doing it to Trey Young lately.
That would be Deli, a.k.a. Lindell Wigginton, who went for 26, I believe, in that game. Had a strong, he's having a very good freshman year. You think about that, Matt. I think Matt got the best of Trey Young a week before. He had 22 against Trey and a win for Texas, and then Lindell comes back and gets him the next day. And you add those two guys in the backcourt together, that was fun to get an opportunity to coach both of those guys for 2 years.
Well, I was out at Ames, Iowa for the Iowa State-Oklahoma game on Saturday, and oh, by the way, Trey Young was held to 22 points and 11 assists.
Isn't that something?
You know what I mean?
When your bad game is 22 and 11?
He only had about 6 wow moments in the game, and we are so used to having him give us 12 or 13 a game.
So 22, 11, and 6. So you are a numbers guy.
And I do know his number is number 11. Hard not to know the exploits of the Oklahoma freshman. And Diesel gets his own miss, then lost it, poked it back, and it goes to Delaware State. Well, 2 games headline Super Tuesday presented by Boost Mobile. And speaking of the presumed Wooden Award winner Trey Young, 7 o'clock Eastern, he and the Sooners will visit number 7 Texas Tech. Then at 9 Eastern, it's on the ACC, the Who's and the Canes. Both games on ESPN and the ESPN app.
It looks like something may be brewing out in the Big 12. Could this be the first year in the last 14 years where Kansas does not win the Big 12? Could Texas Tech actually finish and win the regular season championship over Kansas?
No question.
You do a lot of Big 12. Is that a possibility this year?
No question. You know, and Kansas has done so well on the road. That's the only thing keeping them in the mix. Usually it's their home schedule and winning every game at Fogg. They've lost 3 times at Fogg, and if not for them stealing some wins on the road, they wouldn't even be in the conversation.
Chris Beard doing a great job at Texas Tech.
Diesel, 2 more for the 6'3", 210-pound redshirt sophomore. You know, over the last 5 games coming in, he was averaging 15.5 points a game.
Yeah, and again, we already talked about his ability to distribute and find his teammates, but he's also the leading scorer for Norfolk State. So he continues to play like this. He may be putting together one of those MEAC Player of the Year seasons coming up soon.
Pinky Wiley with another triple.
He's really progressed as a shooter. Always been a very good floor general, floor leader, but you see the development. And Pinky Wiley really just kind of, you know, thrown into the fire, learn on the fly how to be a Division I point guard. And it's tough in a situation where you don't have consistent players on your team on the court to be able to be in that situation. But I believe a lot of what Coach Walker's team is going through now will help prepare these guys to be successful in the future. But it's tough right now when you're going out and they've lost 19 straight to continue to go out and play hard at times when things don't go your way. You can get a little bit down, but Coach Walker's been happy with his team's effort throughout the season, saying they've been a resilient group, and they continue to go out there and try to get the job done regardless of the results.
And Pinky Wiley's been a workhorse for Coach Walker, averaging nearly 36 minutes a game, again with Kobe Gantz out for the year with a knee injury. And Jonathan Mitchell has missed the last 19 games with a hamstring tear. But again, Coach Walker was telling us before the game they have hope that he'll be back. They got Kevon Waller back today. So the Hornets still holding out hope that they can be near whole in time for the MEAC tournament. Little crossover, well short. Seems like Waller in his return game from injury has been just a little bit off. He picks up the personal foul. And that'll send Preston Bungay to the free throw line.
And Bungay's been extremely active, whether it's him rebounding the basketball and pushing it down the floor or running the wing in transition. Unable to finish there, but yet it's the opportunity to get to the free throw line, but just give that all effort. Bungay getting up and down the court, outrunning Delaware State, getting back. It was actually Waller who took that shot. No one from Delaware State getting back in transition, trying to stop Bungay from getting to the rim.
Now, you played baseball growing up, right?
I did.
And you got a son here in town at Old Dominion who plays baseball. He's a fly catcher, right?
He is a center fielder, not as good as his dad, though. Just for the record.
Well, we weren't going to get down that path. The reason I go down that.
He's a good baseball player, but not as good as me.
Man at the free throw line missed last season because of Tommy John surgery. Bungay did not play last year because of Tommy John surgery, an injury, ligament tear in the elbow that you almost only associate with a baseball player.
Baseball pitchers normally, I mean, guys who are throwing a lot.
But he got his hand caught during practice preseason last year, and it just ripped the wrong way and missed an entire season to Tommy John surgery.
Ouch. I'm going to need you to describe that differently. That hurt me when you said it.
You saw a tough one last night at Georgia Tech, elbow injury.
I did.
We don't want to talk about Alvarado either. Back to Norfolk after this.
Okay.
The Knicks are not part of that crossover, but the folks here at Norfolk State love them some New York Knicks because Kyle O'Quinn, the pride of the Spartans, plays in the NBA. The only guy in the MEAC currently in the NBA. You see the list of former Spartans in the NBA. And how about the best ever Spartan in the NBA, Bobby Dandridge?
Yeah, Kyle O'Quinn having a great career with the Knicks, but he's got a ways to go if he wants to catch up with Bobby D. Bobby Dandridge, a tremendous pro and a strong figure here, still in the 7'5'7", has continued to help young men further their development in basketball.
You know, Norfolk State head coach Robert Jones says that when he was an assistant coach, his first recruit to come here to Norfolk State was Kyle O'Quinn. Both New Yorkers got a tip. He was already down here, and Kyle was up in New York City. Apparently nobody was recruiting Kyle O'Quinn at all. He's playing ball up in Harlem.
You're saying that was Coach Jones' first recruit?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Then he should have been hired as the head coach when you recruit that guy. I actually watched Kyle O'Quinn when Norfolk State came to play at Virginia, and he dominated against the front line of Virginia when he was here at Norfolk State. It was actually a very close game, which Norfolk State had a chance to win at the end. I believe they missed a shot at the buzzer, but he was a special talent.
How does a guy like that in New York City get missed?
Because
Seriously.
New York City's about the guards. They're about the point guards. They're about the flash. The big fellas never get the basketball. You don't get to see what they can really do.
Mo Bamba's from New York City. Everybody knew about him. Lou Alcindor was from New York City. Everybody knew about him.
Different time with Alcindor.
All right.
It's a different time.
Taj Gibson.
Nobody knew about Taj Gibson until he
went to USC.
It was USC? Okay. Now, granted, if a New Yorker has to go to L.A. to get exposure, nobody knows about him.
I still find it amazing, and I appreciate for a program like Norfolk State that they've got something in their recent history to be able to latch onto like that. So we saw some of those pictures that are in the hallway leading down to Coach Jones' office, and he's able to bring recruits in and say, you can get to where you want to be here at Norfolk State.
Absolutely, and you can play in a beautiful facility such as the Eccles Hall here, which has gone a tremendous renovation since the last time I was here. Now, it's been a while since I've been here, but I'm not sure how long ago it was they did this renovation, but it is beautiful.
So you said you know Bobby D. Do you know Pee Wee Kirkland, too?
I do know Pee Wee Kirkland. My rookie orientation going into NBA, they had Pee Wee Kirkland come in and speak to all the rookies. And when I tell you that was an eye-opening experience to listen to Pee Wee Kirkland, let me tell you, it was, and I've had the opportunity to talk to Pee Wee and meet Pee Wee a number of times after that. But that first one, when you listen to his story, that is an eye-opener for real.
Well, Pee Wee played a year here at Norfolk State. I think he was here 2 years, played just the 1 year. He still comes back from time to time. Bobby D comes back. Kyle O'Quinn has his own summer camp here every year, comes back with Coach Jones. And, you know, as you know, Corey, this was a tremendous Division II power for a number of years. In the CIAA, is that what it was?
It is the CIAA.
And so they moved up.
Affectionately known as the CI around here.
The CI, all right.
Yeah.
You're always educating me. I appreciate that.
I like to educate. But also, when you talk about conference tournaments, the MEAC is great.
Yep.
Take nothing away from MEAC. But the CIAA tournament is on par with the Super Bowl. When you talk about actually partying and the event that is the weekend, it is Super Bowl level-ish when you think about an all-star game level-ish, when you talk about the crowd that shows up. And I can tell you, even though the games are normally packed, that's probably about 5% of the population that's coming to town for the CIAA tournament.
Don't you mean the CI?
Yeah. Like that, Dougie Fresh. See, I tell you what, all you have to do now is sing Saturday Love, and this broadcast is perfect. That's all. I need to make sure you get that across air.
I think all you're getting out of me is the sugar. This program moved up to D1 in 1997, and it's a whole different world. And you know, when you compare back to those days when you regularly had NBA players coming through Norfolk State University, that is not probably a reasonable expectation anymore, but you can still do it.
Well, it's about development. That's the biggest thing, is when you find a talent similar to a guy like a Kyle O'Quinn who comes in as a freshman and is probably not as polished as you may want for them to be, but they continue to work on the game and develop. That's the way to be able to do it. And oftentimes you're going to get players that are going to stay 4 years. And in an environment like this, you know, if you put in the work, you can definitely make it happen. And you're going to go out and play against a schedule that is definitely worthy, especially in the non-conference where, you know, MEAC teams are often having to go out and play the majority of their non-conference games on the road. To Kyle Williams, who's done the majority of his damage beyond the arc, finding his way to the rim as he continues to put up heavy numbers in the Spartans uniform.
Yeah, season high was 21 in the upset win at Stony Brook late in December. He's up to 17 points tonight. That's a big win for this Spartans team. They had really been struggling through November and December through that non-conference as Jonathan Walker buries the three. But Norfolk State went up to Long Island, New York, and beat a good Stony Brook team. And they were led by their two New Yorkers, including that man from the Bronx, Kyle Williams, now with 20. He had his season high against Stony Brook, and Brian Gelino also had his season high in that win over Stony Brook.
Tavakayam has to get more shots.
Yes.
I mean, when you watch this guy shoot the basketball for Delaware State, Coach Walker has to find a way to get this young man more involved in their offense, because he rarely, just like you talked about with Kyle Williams, it's hard to see how he misses 61% of his threes when he shoots it with such a nice stroke and the way he shot it here tonight. But Tavakayam is on that same level as a shooter, and I don't think he gets nearly enough touches for Delaware State.
And Tavakayam leads the MEAC in three-point shooting accuracy. There's another one he rattles home.
See? I love it when they hear me talking when we're on the microphone. Even though they're out there playing, they can hear me saying they need to get more touches. Get him the ball. Let the young man shoot a couple balls up.
Well, Delaware State needs offense. He has been the leader so far. You see the school record for made three-pointers for Norfolk State. One more, and they will have matched that here tonight.
You know I'm going to take credit for that, right?
Because you talked about it?
No, because I was here. Yeah, you chase him off the line. They do not want him getting another look.
And Long is fouled on the reach-in by Walker. Well, Norfolk State closed out the first half on a 43-9 run. It's been more of the same here in the second.
Nurse practitioner.
IT manager.
Entrepreneur.
Singer.
At Norfolk State University, dreams start here.
With high-quality degree programs
and dedicated professors devoted to your success.
There's no telling how far your dreams can take you.
Gallery owner. News anchor.
Doctor.
Chemical analyst.
Actress.
Professional baseball player.
United States ambassador.
Norfolk State. How far can you go?
You know, at SportsCenter, we like to stay current. And right now, user-generated content is what's hot.
So if you'd like me to read the next highlight, text 4464 to SC. Or if you want Jay to do it, you can text 4465.
Or if you'd like to see Teddy, the roller skating cockatoo, dunk a basketball, text 4466.
We're engaging with our fans in a whole new way.
Bring home a bigger bed and have more room to stretch for less. Because right now, it's the big price drop at Mattress Firm. For the first time ever, we've dropped the price of a king to a queen and the price of a queen to a twin. Across every brand. So you can enjoy a bigger bed for bigger savings. The big price drop. King for the price of a queen, queen for the price of a twin. Across every brand. Your budget stretches further at Mattress Firm.
Shop's Kitchen. Time starts now.
You're right, really.
With the Fios mobile app, you can watch your favorite shows and movies pretty much anywhere. And with Verizon Wireless, it's data-free. So get comfortable. Download the Fios mobile app and get the most out of Fios.
Norfolk State 77, Delaware State 45, 7:48 remaining. And look at this. Norfolk State, for each of the last 19 years, has finished better than 500 in conference play, and that is one whale of a list to be on there, Corey.
Yeah, and whenever you look at yourself and you see your name along the sides of Michigan State, Duke, Kansas, and Kentucky, you are doing pretty well. So give Coach Jones a lot of credit for his part in it, but this Norfolk State University for what they've been able to do since coming to Division I basketball here in the MEAC and sustaining excellence.
Well, they are looking to improve this year's record to 7-4 in their effort to make it 20 straight years at 500 or better in the MEAC. Block shot by Derek Jamerson. He has certainly shown us tonight, Corey, that he's more than just a three-point shooter.
He really has, but and Kyle Williams now can. Ooh, there's some heat on that pass. That's one of those ones where you duck. You don't.
He might have hurt his ligaments in his elbow and knee, Tommy John. That was quite a fastball.
That was, and Kyle Williams would have been much better off actually shooting that basketball. That would have hurt if you tried to catch that one.
You old enough to have watched WKRP in Cincinnati?
I am.
Favorite character was?
I can't remember his name, but I know he had the afro.
All right. Do you know that you are at his alma mater? Venus Flytrap, Tim Reed.
Well, I know his real name because he
Tim
Reed. No, I know, but I couldn't remember his name on WKRP. Tim Reed actually lives in Richmond, well, Petersburg, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have actually talked to Tim Reed a number of times, and I did know that he was a Norfolk State alum, but I could not remember his name on WKRP in Cincinnati.
Venus Flytrap. And then when I was looking at the famous alumni list, the other name that jumped at me, J.B. Smoove. Best part of Curb Your Enthusiasm is any scene involving J.B. Smoove. And if he's watching, his alma mater is showing itself real well in men's basketball tonight. Actually, this is the second half of a women's-men's doubleheader here between these two schools, and the women's team won as well. And at the line for the Hornets, Jonathan Walker. He's no relation to his head coach, Keith Walker, who was sharing some stories with us before the game about his playing days back in the late 70s and early 80s. Coach Walker was at Clemson University, and he was a key part of their 1980 Elite Eight team.
Yeah, playing alongside Larry Nance, Headed to the Elite Eight at Clemson for Coach Bill Foster.
And Mitchell Wiggins was another name you'd remember from that team 38 years ago.
Mitchell's son didn't turn out too bad, huh?
Yeah. Neither did Larry Nance's son.
Yeah, both those sons are pretty good. Talking to Andrew Wiggins and Larry Nance Jr.
Of course, Larry Nance Jr. part of the big wheeling and dealing this week on the NBA trade deadline that brought him to the Cavaliers. And they had a pretty nice debut last night, blowing out Boston. Left-handed shot by Amir Bennett, the freshman from St. Christopher's High School in Richmond.
Yeah. A lot of Richmond flavor on the Delaware State team. I think counts up to at least 3 guys with Waller, Pinky Wiley, and Amir Bennett. At least 3 guys from the area.
You grew up in Richmond?
I know. I grew up in Waynesboro, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah, Waynesboro, Virginia. Been a resident of Richmond for the past 20 years. Richmond-ish. I actually live out in the county now.
Chesterfield?
No, Goochland County.
Goochland.
Matter of fact, I shouldn't have said that.
That's
I don't
right.
like people knowing where I live.
No, we talked. You and I talked about that before. Goochland is the hometown of one of the best baseball players on the planet.
Absolutely, Justin Verlander. Same high school as my son Corey.
Well, if you love basketball, you will love the Valentine's edition of the Crossover Wednesday night on ESPN and ESPN2. Like last season, college announcers jump to the NBA and vice versa. Hubie Brown, Jay Billis together with Virginia Tech and Duke. Then for the Clippers and Celtics, Dickie V and Mark Jackson, PJ Carlesimo and Dan Dockich get together to broadcast the Kentucky-Auburn game. And then Doris Burke and Bill Walton will be together on the Warriors-Blazers game. All 4 games also available on the ESPN app.
Oh, Dickie V and Mark Jackson. Now, that's the pairing that I did not recognize what was going on, but I wonder who takes that to break. Dickie V, of course, has his PT peers and his diaper dandies, but Mark Jackson is probably the best in the business going to break. Hand down, man down. Mama, there goes that man. I can tell you right now, I love listening to Mark Jackson on it.
I don't know. My money might be on Dickie V and
well, one thing's for certain. If Dickie V's talking, he's not going to stop.
No.
So.
And I would think Mark might defer, right?
Mark definitely would defer. No question about it, like all great point guards would.
There you go. There you go.
Speaking of another New Yorker, St. John's.
Yeah.
Mark Jackson, who in my opinion, I think, you know, at the time that we talked about the Knicks, when they do make a change, if they do make a change, and of course I like Jeff Hornacek, but if you want to bring that fan base back to the Garden, I think Mark Jackson would be the perfect candidate to get that. And, of course, people do not give Mark Jackson nearly enough credit for the success of the Golden State Warriors. But one person that does, Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr has always been very gracious regarding Mark Jackson and what he was able to do in that franchise to get them to the point to where when he came in and took over, they were able to take off from there. Steve Kerr winning a championship in his first year as the head coach of the Golden State Warriors. But, of course, that foundation was built by Mark Jackson.
No question about it. And he has never gotten rid of his New York ties. He may not have lived in New York City for a long, long time, but he is still very much a New Yorker. I know he had a son who came back and played college ball at Manhattan College in New York City. I could easily see that happening. You know, if it came to it where they made a change, you're right. Mark Jackson would be a tremendous choice. 3-point bucket by Kevon Waller, still working his way back from a foot injury, first game back.
Good to see Waller back on the court, and of course always going to be good for Delaware State to see him making shots. Important for them to be able to get him back into the rotation and into the mix as the season goes along to see if they can get themselves in better shape for the MEAC tournament.
That's a nice looking break. Good hustle on the back end though by Jamerson to break it up. Diesel with the no look, and the foul will send Long back to the foul line. He'll be shooting 2 when we come back to Norfolk, Virginia. It has been all Spartans.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Joseph A. Bank, the new tradition since 1905. And in part by Esurance, auto and home insurance for the modern world.
Savannah State was not expected to be in first place when this season began, but that's why they play the games.
That is why they play the games, and the reason R.J. Cole plays the games is to get buckets. The freshman leading the MEAC in scoring 24 points per game. Also, Charles Williams, another 20-point-per-game scorer for Howard, so they're getting it done. But when you look at it, everyone getting geared up for the MEAC basketball tournament March 5th through 10th here in Norfolk, Virginia at the Scope.
I was driving around here today, and I heard multiple advertisements. I was listening to 102.9, 103. And they were hitting it pretty hard with radio spots about Norfolk State basketball and about the MEAC tournament coming up to the Scope.
Was that the jam?
It was the jam.
Did you know all the songs on the jams? Yeah, I believe you. I believe you. You don't get the moniker Dougie Fresh without knowing the jams.
No, I tell you, I was surprised. I was not so certain that the city of Norfolk would be as excited as clearly they are about the MEAC tournament coming up.
The city of Norfolk is about basketball.
Yeah.
This is a basketball city, no question about that. They love their football, and of course there have been a number of great football players that come from the 757, not necessarily the city of Norfolk, although Norfolk has had its own. But we see the MEAC tournament as it'll play out. Of course, a 1 Eastern time tip on ESPN2 on March 10th to see who will represent the MEAC in the NCAA tournament. The last 4 years have been shared by North Carolina Central and Hampton University, 2 each for those 2 schools in the last 4 years. Will someone new break through this year? Or will it be Hampton in their last year of the MEAC?
Yeah.
Before they move to the Big South on July 1.
Or Norfolk State or Savannah State. Like we said in the first half, it certainly does seem to be wide open this year.
I know you know all the new jams, but you're definitely much more of an old school R&B guy.
Absolutely. 80s, 90s. I told you what my first concert was, right?
No, what was your first concert?
Grandmaster Flash.
Oh, wow. You're taking it way, way back.
Right after Melly Mel left. I'm not kidding.
Oh, no, I know you're not kidding. I know you're not kidding. Believe me. I've spent enough time with you to know you are definitely up on your hip-hop knowledge.
80s, 90s, 2000s.
90s, the greatest era in hip-hop music. These youngins today will fight me on that one.
Oh,
but
well.
the 90s, best era of hip-hop.
Here comes Diesel.
Oh, Diesel caught a flat tire on the break. He's smiling coming back down the floor. Diesel knew he had his opportunity for the highlight. He's still got a smile on his face.
You know, his mom's not smiling now. She wants to see her boy throw a dunk down on national TV.
But his dad's laughing, so therefore, that's just like a dad.
Now, their son has had a terrific all-around game, deferring to his teammates like Preston Boone-Gay. Picks up a couple of more.
And Norfolk State has gotten a production from a number of different players tonight. And this is one area where Coach Jones can be able to show his team. And if everyone is successful, of course, the team will be much better off. They don't need one guy coming out getting 20, 25 points. If they can have 3 to 4 different guys in double figures, and, of course, with 26 bench points in this game, they've got production all the way up and down the lineup.
Join Kenny Mayne and John Anderson for SportsCenter after Baylor, Texas on ESPN. They'll have more from Johnny Manziel's interview with Good Morning America and look at whether he has a future in the NFL, plus the NBA's big matchup between Blake Griffin and AD, and the inspiring look at Texas basketball player Andrew Jones and his battle with leukemia. SC at night after Big 12 Hoops on ESPN and the ESPN app.
I salute that young man, Andrew Jones, and the courage that he's showing in this battle he's having to deal with against leukemia. But I follow him on Twitter, see him, of course, always tweeting uplifting messages and letting the world know that he's doing just fine and staying positive and under the circumstances he's going through right now.
Thomas gives it back. Pitt finds the big inside, and Brian Gelino has his first 2. He was kind of the object of Coach Jones' ire this morning more than once during shoot-around.
Everybody has one. Everybody has one. Junior Burrow, my team at University of Virginia.
I remember.
Scored close to 2,000 points in college. But I can tell you right now, it didn't matter what happened. It was always his fault in practice with Jeff Jones, no matter what it was. But, you know, what coaches do, they recognize who can take it, and it can be used as constructive criticism. And whenever things go the wrong way, that's the one person that they're looking to blame it on.
Thomas with the triple. I'm guessing that because of your charm and good looks, that the coaches never got on you.
Or they did, and I just wasn't listening. One of the two. I'm not sure which one it was. I don't remember a lot of it. JJ and I used to have more conversations. It wasn't a yelling thing. It was he would say something to me, and I always had something to say back. So it was more of a conversation than it was him getting on me.
That's probably the best way to deal with that. Just don't listen.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Norfolk State here tonight has really, if you take away the first 4 or 5 minutes, looked very good.
Do I get to take credit for the record yet?
No.
I don't?
No.
I can tell you right now, Boongay wanted to go take off on this one. I can respect that foul, too, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless as the time of the score, this, that, and other, I'm not giving you a wide-open dunk at this point in the game. They didn't break the record yet?
I don't think so.
They're tied with 14. They're not going to take – I can't take records. I can't take credit for a tie.
You're going to have to come back.
Good point.
Well, you never know. You might be back at Scope for a little MEAC tournament action.
Would love to check that out. Would love to be around for that.
Well, Delaware State will drop to 0-11 in league play. Perhaps their first win will come another time. But this was Norfolk State's night. The Spartans improved to 7-4 in league play, 9-17 overall. And that man right there, Robert Jones, will be joining us in a couple of minutes. We're going to take a break and come back. Coach Jones will share his thoughts on an impressive victory here tonight in Norfolk. It's Big Monday presented by Joseph A. Bank. Norfolk State with an impressive 93-58 win over Delaware State. We're pleased to be joined by their head coach, Robert Jones. Congratulations, Coach. First few minutes didn't look so good, but all of a sudden you guys took off.
Yeah, we had to call a timeout and talk about it because, you know, like I tell these guys all the time, when we play with energy, we're a pretty good team. There's almost no gray area between us. It's either we play with energy and we're a great team, or we don't play with energy and we're not good at all. So we played with energy after the first 4 minutes, and then the score went up.
And Coach, 14 three-pointers for you guys tonight. Of course, that's a staple for your team, and you have a chance to actually break the school record for percentage this year. How important is that for you and you guys' playing style to make sure that you're getting those opportunities from beyond the arc?
Well, I think we were blessed enough to recruit, you know, pretty good shooters, and they're shooting the ball now. Now, about the record, I didn't know about that. That's something new. But
I was trying to take credit for that, but I wanted you to break it so I could say you broke the record while I was here.
How close are we?
You tied the record.
Oh, we did? Oh, okay. Well,
you tied the record for 14 three-pointers made in this game.
Okay, all right, great. But, you know, guys like Derek Jamison, you know, he shot 49% last year at JUCO. And, you know, Kyle Williams is a great shooter. And Nick Thomas is really coming along shooting the ball, too. And then, of course, Whitley, you know, makes a few shots. So it opens up the, you know, it opens up the perimeter a little bit, which opens up the post a little bit for Alex Long and Brian Jono to get easy baskets. So I'm happy they made some shots tonight.
Rob, we like what we saw of the Diesel tonight.
Yeah, the Diesel. That's funny. He did well. You know, like I said, he's still learning. You know, his point guard's a new position for him, but I know he had 6 assists at half. I'm not quite sure what he finished with, but for a guy that's learning on the job, he's doing a pretty good job for us.
So Steven played well. Yes, he found his teammates first, and then he got some of his own.
And even better, his coach actually laughed at his nickname. I'm thinking you don't call him the Diesel in practice.
Every now and then, it's Steven.
Well, he told me earlier today only his mom calls him Steven, but apparently we found somebody else.
Yeah, I call him Diesel every now and then, but Steven when I'm mad at him.
There you go.
And
nothing to be mad about tonight.
No, not tonight.
All right. Thanks so much, Coach.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Congratulations. It's another Monday in the MEAC where that man Stephen Diesel Whitley got the job done.
Mama call him Diesel, I'm going to call him Diesel. Mama call him Steven, I'm calling him Steven. Regardless, he got the job done tonight.
For Corey Alexander, I'm Doug Sherman saying so long from Norfolk. Final score 93-58. Coming up next, more college hoops. Jackson State versus Prairie View A&M.